The invitation to the Metropolitan Arts Foundation Gala arrived at my office in Manhattan with a handwritten note from my mother. Please RSVP regrets. This year's event is particularly high profile. I was reviewing quarterly financials for Chin Philanthropies when my assistant brought it in. The gala was Mom's biggest social event of the year, the one where Connecticut's wealthiest families gathered to see and be seen, to network and display their charitable credentials. The note was clear: don't come. I called her that evening. Olivia, darling, I'm glad you got my note. You understand why it's better if you skip this year. Not really, Mom, said. The Metropolitan Arts Foundation is celebrating its centennial. We have the governor attending, 3 senators, the CEOs of Fortune 100 companies. Your father's firm is a platinum sponsor. This is about serious philanthropy, serious money, serious connections. And I don't fit that category? You know what I mean. You're wonderful with your little foundation, but these people operate at a different level. They give millions. They have wings of museums named after them. They sit on major boards. She paused. You work from that tiny office downtown. You wear the same 3 suits. People might make assumptions that would reflect poorly on our family. My little foundation had assets of $800 million. My tiny office downtown was a full floor in a Tribeca building. My 3 suits were custom Armani because I didn't have time for shopping. But my mother had never visited my office. Never asked about my work beyond, how's the charity thing going? I see, I said quietly. I knew you'd understand. You've always been practical. Besides, these events are terribly dull if you're not part of that world. All anyone discusses is endowments and capital campaigns and donor recognition. After I hung up, I looked at the invitation again. The Metropolitan Arts Foundation. I knew them well. I'd been in discussions with their board for 8 months about a major partnership. A very major partnership. I called my chief operating officer. Daniel, what's the status of the Metropolitan Arts Agreement? Final signatures next week. We're announcing at their gala. Didn't your mother organize that event? She did. And she just uninvited me. Pause. Does she know about the gift? She knows I run a foundation. She thinks I organize bake sales. He laughed. Should be interesting. Want me to arrange seating? Please. Somewhere visible. The gala was 2 weeks away. I spent the time closing a partnership with the Guggenheim, finalizing a $50 million grant program for emerging artists, and meeting with the board of the Lincoln Center about an education initiative. I also had my assistant send the Metropolitan Arts Foundation a formal RSVP. Olivia Chin accepts with pleasure. 3 days before the gala, Mom called, voice tight. Olivia, the foundation said you RSVP'd. Yes. I specifically asked you not to come. I'm a donor, Mom. It seemed appropriate. A donor? Olivia, tables are $50,000. Individual seats are $10,000. This isn't, you can't afford. I'm not buying a seat. The foundation invited me directly. Why would they? She stopped. Never mind. Listen, if you insist on coming, please be discreet. Don't draw attention. Your sister will be there with her husband. He's being honored for their family foundation's $1 million gift. Try not to overshadow that. My sister Jessica had married into the Whitmore family, old money from Boston. Their foundation gave $1 million annually to various causes, mostly for the tax benefits and social prestige. I'll be discreet, I promised. And Olivia, wear something appropriate. Not one of those plain suits you always wear. This is black tie. These people will judge. Saturday evening, I dressed in my apartment overlooking Central Park. Not a plain suit. A midnight blue gown by Valentino, simple and elegant. Diamond earrings I'd inherited from my grandmother, the one who'd left me the initial $10 million that started Chin Philanthropies 12 years ago. Grandma Helen had believed in me when no one else did. Make it matter, she'd said. Don't just give money away. Change things. I'd taken that $10 million and built it into $800 million through strategic investments and aggressive fundraising. Chin Philanthropies now funded arts education in 50 cities, supported 500 emerging artists annually, and underwrote major exhibitions at museums across the country. Last year we'd given away $60 million. This year would be $75 million. But my mother thought I organized bake sales. I arrived at the Plaza Hotel at 7:15. The ballroom was already filling. Women in designer gowns, men in tuxedos, everyone holding champagne and exchanging business cards disguised as conversation. Crystal chandeliers, floor-to-ceiling windows, tables dressed in gold and white. Very elegant. Very exclusive. Very much my mother's world. I spotted my family immediately. Mom in silver silk, Dad in his best tuxedo, Jessica in red with her husband Thomas looking smug. They stood with a cluster of other wealthy couples, everyone laughing and discussing their charitable contributions. Mom saw me and her face tightened. She grabbed my arm as I approached. "Olivia. You came." Her voice was strained. "Listen, I need you to do me a favor. The kitchen staff is overwhelmed. Could you help them? Just for an hour? It would mean so much." I stared at her. "You want me to work in the kitchen? Just to help out? You're good at that sort of thing. And honestly, darling, you'll be more comfortable there than trying to make conversation with these donors. They're very sophisticated." "Mom, I'm a guest. Please, Olivia. Don't make a scene. The Vanderbilts are here, the Rockefellers, the Astors. Your father is trying to network with Senator Harrison. We can't have you wandering around looking out of place." Jessica appeared looking concerned. "Mom, what's wrong?" "Nothing, dear. I was just asking Olivia to help in the kitchen." Jessica's eyes widened. "Mom, you can't, Olivia is family." "It's fine," I said quietly. "I understand exactly where I stand." I walked away before they could respond, moving through the ballroom. Found the foundation's executive director, Margaret Walsh, near the stage. "Olivia." She embraced me warmly. "I'm so glad you're here. Ready for the announcement?" "More than ready. Your mother organized a beautiful event. Does she know about the gift? She asked me to work in the kitchen." Margaret's mouth fell open. "She what?" "She's embarrassed by me. Thinks I'll look out of place among the real donors." "The real donors," Margaret repeated slowly. "Olivia, you're giving more than every other donor in this room combined." "She doesn't know that." Margaret shook her head. "Should I adjust the announcement? Make it less prominent?" "Absolutely not. Do it exactly as planned." Dinner was served at 8 o'clock. I found my assigned seat, table 2, right in front of the stage. The foundation board members' table. Next to me sat the chairman of the Metropolitan Museum, a tech billionaire who funded music education, and a film director who supported emerging artists. My family was seated at table 8, mixed with other major donors. I watched Mom's face as she realized where I was sitting. Confusion, then concern, then growing alarm. The meal was lobster and filet mignon. Conversation at my table was stimulating. Discussions about arts funding challenges, innovative grant programs, the future of cultural institutions. At 9 o'clock, Margaret took the stage. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us as we celebrate the Metropolitan Arts Foundation's centennial. 100 years of supporting the arts, nurturing talent, and enriching our cultural landscape." Applause rippled through the room. "Tonight, we're honored to recognize our major donors, the individuals and families whose generosity makes our work possible." She clicked a remote. The screen behind her filled with names and donation amounts. The Whitmore Family Foundation, $1 million over 5 years. My sister and Thomas stood waving to applause. Mom beamed with pride. More names appeared. 2 million. 3 million. 5 million. Each donor standing for recognition, basking in the spotlight. "And now," Margaret said, "I want to share some extraordinary news. The Metropolitan Arts Foundation has been in discussions with a philanthropic partner about a transformational gift. A gift that will reshape arts education in America. A gift that represents the largest single donation in our foundation's history." The room went silent. I saw Mom lean forward, probably hoping to hear the Vanderbilt name. Chin Philanthropies has committed $100 million over the next 10 years to establish the Chin Initiative for Arts Education. This program will provide full scholarships to 5,000 students annually, fund arts programs in underserved schools, and support emerging artists with grants and mentorship. Gasps echoed through the ballroom. 100 million was real money even in this crowd. Chin Philanthropies was founded 12 years ago by Olivia Chin, who built it into one of the most innovative arts foundations in the country. Please join me in thanking Olivia, who is with us tonight. The spotlight swung to my table. I stood as the room erupted in applause. Real applause, the kind that comes from genuine respect. At table 8, 4 faces stared at me in perfect synchronization. Mom's champagne glass tilted, spilling onto the tablecloth. Dad's mouth hung open. Jessica looked like she'd been struck by lightning. Thomas had gone pale. Margaret continued. Olivia started Chin Philanthropies with a $10 million inheritance and grew it to $800 million in assets through strategic investment and visionary fundraising. Last year alone, Chin Philanthropies distributed $60 million in grants. The foundation supports arts education in 50 cities, funds 500 emerging artists annually, and has partnered with every major museum in the country. The screen behind her filled with images. Schools we'd funded, artists we'd supported, programs we'd created. Children learning instruments, painters at work, dancers in rehearsal. Real impact, real change. Beyond the financial commitment, Olivia will serve on our board of directors and chair the new Education Initiative Committee. Her vision and expertise will guide the Metropolitan Arts Foundation into our next century. More applause. A standing ovation. The tech billionaire next to me gripped my shoulder. Extraordinary work. Truly extraordinary. When I sat down, my phone was already buzzing. I glanced at the screen. 17 texts from my family in the last 3 minutes. I put the phone away without reading them. After the speeches, I was immediately surrounded. Foundation board members wanting to discuss partnerships. Museum directors seeking collaborations. Other philanthropists asking about grant strategies. My mother appeared at my elbow, face carefully composed. Olivia, darling, can we talk? I'm in a conversation, Mom. Please. Just for a moment. I excused myself and followed her to a quiet corner. Dad and Jessica trailed behind, both looking shell-shocked. You donated $100 million, Mom whispered. $100 million. I did. But you work from that little office. You wear the same suits, we thought. He thought I was poor. That I was embarrassing. That I needed to hide in the kitchen so I wouldn't shame the family in front of your society friends. She flinched. That's not what I meant. Isn't it? You literally asked me to work in the kitchen, Mom. At a charity gala. Because you were ashamed of me. We didn't know, Dad said. His voice cracked. Olivia, we had no idea you'd built something so significant. I tried to tell you. At Thanksgiving 3 years ago, I talked about expanding to new cities. You asked if I was still playing charity. At Christmas, I mentioned our grant programs. You changed the subject to Jessica's new house. At Easter, I tried to explain our endowment growth. You interrupted to discuss Dad's golf handicap. Jessica's eyes were shining. Livy, I'm so sorry. We should have listened. Should have asked about your work. You should have. But you didn't. You assumed that because I wasn't married into money like Jessica, because I didn't work at a corporate firm like Dad, because I chose nonprofit work, that I was somehow less. That I was an embarrassment to be hidden away. That's not. Mom stopped, unable to finish the lie. Thomas had materialized beside Jessica, looking uncomfortable. Olivia, the Whitmore Foundation would love to discuss collaboration opportunities. Would you? I looked at him. You'd love to collaborate now that you know I control $800 million? 20 minutes ago, your wife was embarrassed to be seen with me. He had the grace to look ashamed. Margaret approached with a couple in their 60s. Olivia, I'd like you to meet. The Vanderbilts, I said, recognizing them. We met at the Guggenheim opening last month. Mrs. Vanderbilt kissed my cheek. Darling, that announcement was magnificent. We must discuss your methodology. Our foundation could learn so much from your approach. As I walked away with the Vanderbilts, I heard my mother's voice, small and broken. She met the Vanderbilts at the Guggenheim. She knows the Vanderbilts. The rest of the evening blurred together. Conversations with foundation leaders, museum directors, arts administrators. Everyone wanted to discuss partnerships, share ideas, learn from Chin Philanthropies' success. I was doing exactly what my mother had feared, dominating the social landscape of her biggest event. But not as an embarrassment. As the guest of honor. At 11 o'clock, I collected my coat. My family was still there, standing together near the bar, watching me with expressions I couldn't quite read. Mom intercepted me at the exit. Olivia, please. Don't leave like this. We need to talk. Really talk. About what? About how you tried to hide me in the kitchen. About how you were ashamed of my work until you learned it was worth $800 million. I kept my voice calm. I'm not angry, Mom. I'm just done. Done pretending to be less than I am to make you comfortable. Done accepting crumbs of respect from my own family. We love you, she whispered. Do you? Or do you love what I can do for your social standing now that everyone knows about Chin Philanthropies? I adjusted my coat. Here's the thing, I didn't need your approval to build something that matters. I did it anyway. Grandma Helen believed in me when no one else did. That was enough. What can we do? Dad asked quietly. To fix this? Nothing. Not right now. Maybe someday we'll find a way forward. But tonight I'm going home to my apartment that you've never visited, to review grants for artists you've never asked about, to continue work that you've never valued. I walked out into the Manhattan night, leaving behind the family who'd tried to hide me and the society that had just discovered I'd been the most important person in the room all along. My phone buzzed constantly during the cab ride home. Messages from my family, from new contacts made tonight, from arts organizations wanting to connect. And one text from Margaret. You changed everything tonight. Not just for the foundation, for every person in that room who will benefit from the Chin Initiative. Your grandmother would be so proud. I smiled, tears blurring the city lights outside my window. Grandma Helen had told me to make it matter. Tonight, surrounded by people who valued my work while my family tried to hide me, I'd proven that it did. And I'd done it without needing anyone's permission. Not even my mother's.